Most contractors using AI right now are not becoming more productive. They're becoming faster at the same broken process. And that it's dangerous because a broken workflow that moves faster does not create leverage. It creates more rework, faster confusion, faster handoff mistake, and faster owner dependency. In other words, more chaos, if you want to call it. So let's say if you are an estimator using AI to write a proposal in 50 minutes, right? Instead of those 60 minutes that it took you before. But your company still sends the same number of proposals every month. You did not transform the business. You just made one task less painful. Let me grab my hot chocolate because that you need to think about that a little bit. In this video, I will show you the AI trap most construction companies are walking into, why the tools are not the real leverage, and the workflow redesign that actually turns AI into margin. Think about this. Faster is not the same as more productive. Okay, probably you're asking who am I and why I'm talking about this. But the reason is I've been working in AI before AI was famous. Been working in implementing technology in different companies, in, I don't know, probably 1,000 companies. So I've seen everything. And one of the things that as a civil engineer knows about construction industry and how it can implement effectively, it's how you can implement AI effectively in your business. So in other words, I'm not just some AI influencer. I have real knowledge, real experience, and I will translate this in each video on our channel. All right, let's talk about the first issue. You bought ChatGPT, you bought Claude, you bought, I don't know, every note taker. You're playing around with workflows, Zapier, NAN, Make, all these famous tools, right? But are you going home early? Are you taking, I don't know, it feels that you are more productive to the day, or you're doing more than before? Or, you're doing more things in less time, but you're not really productive. And that's the biggest issue on AI. And that's one of the things that it's creating chaos on your company. Your team is using AI tools because everyone is saying that you need to start using AI tools, but no one is looking at what actually you need to do in order to get the ROI that you need. Not because you take 45 minutes less in doing something, it means you are more productive, because you are still producing the same thing. So if you did a change order in 5 minutes and before it took you 60 minutes, you're still producing one change order. That's not an increase in productivity. And that is what you as a business owner needs to understand, that we need to start looking at every dollar spent in AI on how we can increase the company's productivity, because you will be start doing more with less and you will start making revenue. Like, for example, one of our clients, FY, we sign NDA with all of our clients, so we can say exactly who that is because it's in construction industry. But let's call it Marco. Marco went from 22 million to 45 million in only 6 months without increasing headcount, without increasing more admin, without increasing or paying tools or extra software, just implementing AI correctly. So let's go to the board and let me show you something that is going to change the way you look at AI. All right. What I'm going to show you is going to blow your mind, so just bear with me. So let me show you quickly how an organization works, right? So a person, this is a quick person, does or execute, call it. Let's call this a task, right? The biggest mistake that everyone does when looking at this is that they pull or they throw AI to this task. But that's what's happened when you, let's say, takes before AI, it took you, I don't know, 15 minutes to do it. And with AI, it takes you 2 minutes to do it. But your outcome, it's still one we call one output, right? And the reason why this is happening is because you're doing it at the task level. You're not thinking at the work level. So where does your bottlenecks happen? Where your pain point on your company happens? That happens at the process level. So let's look at a normal, we'll say, construction piece, right? So first there is an intake, right? Which you do a series of tasks in that intake. You have an estimate that you do a specific task when you create estimate or quote, right? You may create a full proposal. Some of this it is important for another, and you do some task, and then you do approval, right? And then maybe you have 5 or 6 people doing approval, and let me go right here, perfect. And then you schedule the job, right? Everything needs to be scheduled the job, and then maybe during the job when you start working, there's going to be a change order, right? And then probably when you have those orders, you're going to start sending invoices, and then there is also a lot of tasks that you need to do in the invoice, and then of course no one will pay very straightforward, so maybe you will need to do a lot of follow-ups, right? That it's a normal process for companies, especially for construction companies, right? Some in and out, but this is the normal process, right? If you have this process, as you can see, each process it has different tasks associated to it. Now, if you are working in this task right here on intake, how this task helps all overall process? It doesn't, right? It does make the intake faster, yes, but you're still producing one intake at a time or one unit at a time. So what if we took at this and then we realize that maybe here on the estimate, we have a bottleneck. Here, there is a big warning right here. Why? Because it takes too long, it takes too much steps, and things are getting complex here, right? So now when we zoom in, so we're gonna zoom in into this right here, into this process, we're gonna see that an estimate has task 1, task 2, okay, task 3, and task 4. So if you're fixing this, right, if you say, okay, so now I'm gonna have an AI that task 1, task 2, task 3, and task 4 is gonna be done by the AI because it's building that estimator. So, and then we have a human only review. How many estimate you can think this human can do if you completely remove task 1, task 2, task 3, and task 4 from this human? And the only thing is this human is doing is reviewing what the AI is producing. Will not that increase the productivity of the business? So now you're removing this. Now you can produce more estimate. And if you're producing more estimates, that means you can, and if you, it's let's say, if you're removing and you're still getting 30% close rate on those estimates, imagine how much money are you making if you increase times 2 or times 3. That is the thinking. That's why in AI, you need to look at the process and not the task level. So what is the lesson here? This is jasmine tea, one of the, oh, so delicious. So the lesson here is that AI tools will make you faster, yes, but will not increase your overall P&L of the company. So you're not gonna see a productivity because you're looking at the task level, you're not thinking at the process level. Okay, it's not clear yet. I mean, I know this is below mine, but maybe it's not very clear. So let me give you something. Let's say that you decide to create an AI dashboard to look at your company. And you have beautiful metrics with charts going up, and then you have different charts inputting, and maybe you have metrics like $1,000,000, $2 million, and you are like, yes, with this, I'm gonna look at my company performance and view everything that needs to happen and so on, and you're so excited about it. But how long was the last time you look at this? What actions are you taking from this AI dashboard? Right? you have some metrics of the business, but that doesn't mean that you want to pick. Why? Because probably behind this dashboard, you're still doing manual work. Maybe the estimator is still doing repetitive tasks. Someone is not updating the CRM, which is feeds to this dashboard. And that is the issue. This is how AI becomes one more thing that you need to do in your process. This is what people start feeling overwhelmed, because what they're doing is just updating new things because AI needed for our dashboard. I need to update CRM because I need to do dashboard. I need to follow the estimate, create the estimate certain way because the AI will need it, and blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, AI becomes a pain instead of something that increases productivity. And that's something we need to change. That's something you need to think about. And to be honest, this is a great example of why AI becomes a pain, why it becomes one more thing they have to manage on a daily basis. And doesn't increase productivity. So you're wasting your money. So what's the solution, Christian? Well, the solution is simple. You need to look what happens in history. 124 years ago, there was the electricity. Electricity was something just coming up. Electricity was something that was disrupting the market. And many factories, what would they had? They had an engine. They have a steam engine. So basically, they will have a machine. I don't know. I'm not a good driver, but they will have a machine somewhere in the belt that will create, steam, and that steam will move cover belts to different stations. And they have a station 1, and then it will have another cover belt to another station, and they will have a station 2. Right? And they have everything centralized to the same process, to the same engine. So what they did, they just get rid of this and they just put electricity. And then when they do the electricity piece, do the productivity increase? They didn't. Why? Because every single station was running the same way until some companies, some manufacturing companies decide, wait, that means with electricity, I can have my own motor in this station with electricity in mind. I can have my own motor with electricity in mind. I can have my own motor with electricity in mind in each station. That means I can modify the layout with electricity in mind. So what they did, they moved the station 1 closer to station 2 because now they didn't have that central belt, right? And then maybe they move a station 3 closer to a station 2 so they can move faster, right? And they have each of these stations has a motor which allows them to turn it on, to turn it off. And what happens? Productivity increased by 50 to 70%. And that is the biggest advantage of why new technology coming in increase the productivity. But do these manufacturer people become electricians? They didn't. Why? What they did is they know the business. They knew what process or how way to redesign it, and then hire electrician to install that manufacturer, understand how much electricity that station needed depending of whatever the process of the manufacturer. And it's the same concept you need to start applying. You are not an AI expert, and you're now going to become an AI expert. So what you need to do, you need to find your AI expert that can help you to redesign your process around AI. You know your business, you know the knowledge of your business, you know construction industry. You just need an AI expert that can plug in to your knowledge and redesign the process and implement that AI process or that process with AI in mind. That's the beauty of how you can increase productivity. That is the solution. All right. So I'm going to give you 5 questions that you need to ask in every single process. So if we go back to our overall process and you want to fix the proposal, you're going to ask these 5 questions. If you're going to go to the invoice, you're going to ask for these 5 questions. What is the questions? The first one is, where works wait? Where does information get copied twice? Where does someone have to remember to follow up? Where does the owner or managers become the router? If this step moves automatically, what will improve? Speed, margin, cash collection, customer experience, capacity, right? So that's are the questions you will ask in one of this. And then when you have all those questions answered, choose one process and start redesigning with AI in mind and start implementing. All right. So before I ended this, and I will give you a full example on the next episode, but I just wanted you to understand one thing with this video. That is, finding an AI tool will not increase productivity in your business. You need to start thinking of understanding your process as it is, with the pain points, with the Bottleneck, how it's currently working, not the dream that you have, right? And redesign that process with AI in mind by asking the 5 questions I gave you before. With that, you will be amazed on how much productivity you're getting for every dollar spent on AI and every dollar spent on the resources you're already paying, because you already have headcount, you're already paying for software, etc. So in the next video, I will give you a clear example on how to do this. Now, if you want to understand more how you can do this in a way that is simple, there is 2 links in the description. One, it's an ebook especially made for construction that tells you what AI is capable and how you can implement a process-first framework in your business. And the second one is our masterclass that we do every single Thursday, that we teach you on detailed the process-first framework. And the only thing you need to go is to go to our descriptions and click on the links below. See you in the next video.